Last week, I spoke with a job seeker who had submitted 200 applications and had not received any requests for interviews. She came to me because she thought she had a resume problem. So, when I was talking with her, I asked her, "What jobs were you targeting with this resume?" And she told me, all kinds of different jobs that she had applied for. Now, as a former recruiter and as a career coach, I can tell you that oftentimes job seekers diagnose the wrong problem in their job search. Her issue was not her resume. Her issue was her positioning. So today what we're going to talk about is how to diagnose your problem and why clarity and positioning is actually the key to job search success. What usually happens is when a job search stalls, then that job seeker starts working on tactics, changing things up. Well, maybe I'll rewrite my resume, or I'll get LinkedIn Premium, or I'll just ramp up the number of applications I submit, or I'll keep on tweaking my keywords. Now, those are all tactics, but it doesn't get to the root cause of the problem. So think of it this way. If you have a car that's not working, you don't start switching parts in and out. No, you want to diagnose the problem. And then if it needs a new part, you do that. But you don't waste your time trying to try all these other things, hoping that something will work. You really want to figure out what that problem is. So this is where a lot of job seekers get into trouble. So what I want to do is introduce a framework to help you diagnose the problem. And my framework starts at the beginning with clarity. Do you understand what you're looking for? Then comes positioning, making sure you know how to position yourself so that you are the answer to that hiring manager's problems. Then we have marketing. So that would be your resume or your LinkedIn profile. Then we have job search strategy, how you're finding opportunities. Then you have the interviewing, and then, of course, hired. So when I look at where problems are, I always have to start at the beginning and work my way down that framework to see what really is the issue. So let's start by first talking about clarity. Now, what happens a lot of time when I know that there's a clarity problem is when someone tells me that they're interested in a whole bunch of roles. Okay, you're trying to be everything to everyone, and especially in a competitive market, that's going to be a problem. You really need to make sure that you're really focused on one or maybe two roles. So the questions that I would ask you is, what role are you interested in? Why are you interested in that role? How does it align with your strengths? How does it align with your interests? Does it align with the things, the skills that you want to use every day? And how does it fit into your long-term career path, your goals? You should be able to answer every single one of those questions if you have clarity. But if you do not, that's a starting place, because everything that you do, every tactic you take, all your strategy comes from that. So if you are targeting multiple roles, like 5 roles, you have a clarity problem. If you can't explain why you want a job, you have a clarity problem. If you apply for a role just because you're qualified for it, but for no other reason, that's a clarity problem. So diagnose this. If you can't answer all those questions, then you need to step back and work on your clarity first. Next, we move in the framework to positioning. So positioning is your brand. It is about what value you bring to others. It's not about a title. It's not about years of experience. It's about what you do that is worth an employer spending money on you. So that could be what kind of problems you solve. What kind of expertise do you bring? What is it that you do that can help that employer move forward? The results that you offer. So it's not about activity. That's just where a lot of people get it wrong. It's not about what you do, but it's about the results you get from what you do. So as an example, I see it all the time. People talk about their years of experience. Okay, But really, that employer only cares about what those years of experience bring in terms of results. So, let me give you an example where people go wrong. They may talk about the number of employees that work for them. Okay, maybe you supervise 12 people. Okay, but that's doing. Now, let me give you a way to change that into something that is results oriented. Oversaw a team of 12 that resulted in 25% decrease in customer complaints and 10% increase in retention. That's a result that will get attention. That is how you position yourself, not as the leader of 12 people, but the leader of 12 people who gets results. After clarity and positioning, then it comes marketing. That's your resume. That's your LinkedIn profile. Those pieces are the result of knowing what you want and how to position yourself. Ask any resume writer. They'll tell you they can't really do a good job on a resume if you don't know what your target is, because they write it to the target. So you want to make sure that anything you're doing in that marketing area is consistent. What you have in your LinkedIn profile, what you have in your resume, even what you're talking about in your interviews, all should be consistent, because keeping that message consistent, make sure they do understand, that employer, what it is that you offer. They're not confused. And if they need what you can offer, you will be the person that they will want to talk to. The next thing is to look at your job search strategy. Now, I know everyone's default is to go to job boards that are online. That is not the only thing to do. So if you're not getting interviews and your resume is well positioned, it can be because you are in competition with hundreds, maybe thousands of people. Your odds are not great. So there are other things that you can do besides just applying online. You can contact hiring managers. You can have a targeted organization list, that places where you want to target. You can do networking. There's a lot of things you can do to help you get more opportunities. So if you're not doing any of those other things besides applying on job boards, that could be why you're not getting interviews. The next thing to look at is actually your interviews. Now, there's a difference between not getting past the first round and not getting offers. So, not getting past the first round, that generally means that you're not doing a good job of talking about how you solve problems, what's your value, all the things that they're going to evaluate you on. Yes, you might have that on your resume. Yes, you might understand your positioning, but you are not doing a good job when it comes to talking about this with others in explaining that. So that might be where you need to concentrate your efforts. Now, if you get to the end of the process, but you're not getting offers, then that is something that is a problem with your differentiation. Because at that point, everybody can do the job. That's not the question. They probably do understand your value, but what they don't know is how you're different from somebody else and how you are the less risky option. So differentiation, that's important. So when you get to that part of the process, you've got clarity, you've got positioning, you've got your marketing materials, you got your job search strategy, then you know that the interview and how you're presenting yourself, that is where the problem is. So use this framework to help you diagnose where your problem is. Spend the effort on what is the root cause, because I don't want you spinning your wheels. You fix that, and your rest of your job search should be much easier and much more effective. I have a new online course called Crack the Code, where I teach you the secrets of how to be an effective interviewer in just 90 minutes. If you want to know more, I have information in the description box.